Good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking about in sports medicine medical terminology. So it's really important that we apply our skills that we've learned in human anatomy and we apply those skills to medical terminology because the goal for you guys is to apply these skills later on when you go to the healthcare field for medical documentation, for accuracy of results. You need to be able to apply medical terminology. So what I want you guys to do first this morning is I want you to partner with the person to your left, okay? Think about right and left, to your left, and discuss what anatomy we went over last session. So remember we talked about bones, we talked about that from head to toe. We're going to learn what head to toe means in medical terms. So I want you to take a minute. I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute, and I want you guys to discuss about human anatomy of the bones, and then think about how you would apply those things to medical terminology. Okay, so we'll take a moment. I want you to discuss. So when thinking about medical terminologies, there's a few terms that we're going to be going over today. So we have a handout for you guys, the vocabulary squares that you picked up. And as you can see on the vocab squares, it said define the term. So we're going to put our first term in there. The first term is anterior. So anterior, A-N-T-E-R-O-I-R, anterior. So that means front. So when you think of anterior, think of front. So I want you guys to go ahead and write the definition down in that designated square, and then I want you to define that in your own words. You're going to draw a picture, and then you're going to use anterior in a sentence. What I want you guys to do, so you're thinking about with your partner what we just discussed of saying, okay, I've learned all of these bones, let's apply those to medical terminology. So we talked about bones. I can say, going back to the thigh bone, remember we said thigh bone equals femur. So femur is anterior. So you can say that the thigh bone, also known as the femur, is anterior. So that's a way of applying those medical terms. And then when we get into details about stuff, as far as injuries, we can say there was an injury to the anterior portion of the femur. So we're getting specific. It's just not saying when I give documentation to the physician, oh, the injury is to the femur. Well, what femur is it? Is it the right or left? Is it the front, the back, or the side? So you see how important that is. So we're going to finish what's on the board. So we have anterior, posterior, medial, lateral, and we have the planes. So we're going to work in our groups. I want you guys to write the definition down, define it, and then we're going to take some time in our groups and we're going to have you guys complete the rest of the squares. So you're going to write it in your own words. You're going to also define it and put it in a sentence and then draw a picture for me. So let's work on getting the rest of these down. Any questions? All right, I want you guys to start working on that. Yep, so anterior, remember that's the front, and so if you want to, you can pair them. So anterior, posterior. Remember, posterior is going to be opposite of anterior, which is front, so posterior has to be back. So go ahead and define that, and make sure you complete that first square on the upper left side. Okay, so now I want you guys to get in your groups and you're going to continue to work on these terms together. Okay, so you guys have it defined on your paper. Now you're working in groups to write it, create, define it and use it in a sentence. And you can also draw a picture. So I want you guys to work on that. So you're going to split that up together. And then at the end, we're going to have one of you guys come up and just explain to us or give us an example of what you did for a definition. Okay, so use that upper left square as a resource for you and a guide so you know, okay, this is the definition. And if any of you guys are struggling with what that means, we can go over that again. But now's the time to ask. So raise your hand. I want you guys to let me know after we get done. We'll see where everybody is at. Okay, so I'm going to walk around the classroom. If you have any questions, raise your hands up. And then also to remember, you can use your partner as a resource. So I want you guys to keep working on that. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, so we're going to keep all of our notes nice and organized. We're going to put them in our sports med binder so that we have those for review later on, because we're going to apply those to our medical terminology portion of the binder. So any questions on that? Like I said, we'll be using that over and over again because we're getting more specific with the human anatomy and applying that for documentation, for specifics and accuracy, for proper care and treatment of the athlete. So hopefully that was really a good resource for you, because the vocab squares really breaks everything down for you guys. So keep that nice and organized in your binder, and we'll be using that for sure over and over and over again. So now what we're going to do, we're going to do a fun activity. We have our bingo boards, okay? And we have all the terms labeled on there. What I want you guys to do is partner with the person to your right this time. And you guys are going to have your boards, you have your marbles. And what I want you guys to do is one person is going to be the bingo caller, okay? So you decide what term you're going to do, but you're not going to tell the partner exactly what the term is, okay? So they have to think about it. So you give them a cue. So I'll say, okay, for example, this specifies as the front of the body. Okay, so what should we be putting down on our marble, on our board right now? Anterior, okay? So we should be placing anterior on the board, okay? And that's what you guys will do. So you'll go back and forth. One person is the bingo caller first, then you place it down. The next person is gonna go. So we're gonna take a few minutes to do that. And then when we come back, we're going to compete. So you guys are going to share one board. You pick which board you want to use out of the two that you have, and we're going to play as a class. So you guys are going to be eyes and ears for each other so that you make sure you don't miss those terms and somebody else doesn't get the bingo before you. So go ahead and practice that for a second. Okay, and the bingo game is a fun game to practice. You can have your parents practice with this for you. You can give them the list of the definitions and they can give you little hints, and you can use that as a resource. Not only are we, going over the terms, but you're seeing the spelling of the word as well, which is very helpful because we want to make sure that we're spelling all of our stuff correctly when we're documenting stuff. So as a closure, what I want you guys to do is reflect on what we've learned. You're going to do a 5-minute paper. Okay, so what I want you to do is reflect on what we've learned today with all of the terms, and you're going to apply those to, the potential healthcare field that you want to go into. So I want you to take a few minutes to go over that. And then at the end, we're going to go over it, reflect again on your 5-minute documentation. And then we'll be using that at the beginning of class tomorrow. So make sure you have that done. I'll be checking for completion. And if you have any questions at all, I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, so I'm really excited. This is the first unit for medical